a very good evening to all of you. And in this video, I shall try to give you a little exploration on a play, about a poem called Names. The poem Names is written by African writer or Caribbean writer Derek Walcott, and this poem is based on slavery and how African race was originated. That all kind of thing the poet has tried to delineate through his poetic lines. And the poet has also attempted to elucidate the practice of slavery by the white colonial powers, and which had ultimately uprooted, displaced, and scattered Caribbean or African race. We all know this slavery system was introduced by colonial powers, especially the British. They had taken, or they had forcibly taken many African people to work in the agriculture field or plantation in the US or in the England or many other parts of the world where the colonial power were reigning or were they ruling. Okay, so they had taken many people in the form of animal. Okay, they have just captured them, caged them, and they have forcibly put them into the ship or in any other vehicle, and they had tried to taken them to for the war. Okay, so that was a very brutal history of slavery. And nowadays slavery has you won't see any slavery, but mentally there are some kind of people who still believe in this kind of supremacy, that the whites should be the good one and the black are the bad one. Like that, they should be treated not fairly by the white. So that kind of thing is still there, and that kind of thing that the poet has tried to say, that actually the African or the Caribbean people who were transformed into slave by the white people, actually the African people, they were the origin. They were the primitive human being. So everyone should know about them, about their heritage, about their culture. So that's the thing the poet has tried to depict through his poetry. And through this poetry or through this poem, the poet has also tried to self-explore his history or his race or his culture of African tribe. Okay, and there were when they were taken by the colonial power, at that time they were diametrically entrapped in foreign land. The colonial authority, they had brutally and barbarically assaulted, tortured, treated, beat, and killed them in the different places of the world. Apart from that, the poet has also tried to explore and critique the origin, evolution, and current state of Caribbean race. And at the beginning of the poem, the poet has expounded that his race, his African race or Caribbean race, that began when the sea began. So through this line, the poet has tried to say that actually his African tribe or the African tribe, African race is one of the primitive race of the world. Okay, and we all know, we might have read in our social science book that Africans were the first human, and their first human was born, and from there all people have migrated to other places of the world. Besides, it had no nouns, means no names and no horizon when his race originated. Initially, they were like the sea, utterly undefined and looking down at seafloor and up to the heavens, rather than across the land to other places and peoples. But now they are in this world. Therefore, to trace the line from then to now, the speaker, like his race, must begin without the knowledge of the past or future. He even looked for the moment where their collective view of the world shifted from the sea and became divided by the horizon. But he could not find it. Okay. Moreover, his race or his people who came from countries across the colonial world, like Benares in India, Canton in China, and Berlin and country in West Africa. But unfortunately, they have now lost their memories of their own root, as they were taken from their birthplace or homeland to other place that I have already told you. They were taken for the sake of slavery, okay, and they were actually sold by the colonialist power, okay, to work as a slave in their home, in their household, or in their agriculture or plantation field. There is a movie, if you want to watch, then you can watch. And number one movie is, I have forgotten. Yes, 12 Years a Slave. That's a very fantastic movie on slavery. If you can watch it, then you must watch it. And there is a Django Unchained. Then there are many more. Okay, I'm not able to recall right now, but whatever the film name I have mentioned, I think if you watch that movie, then you will have immense knowledge about the slavery system, how they were suffered, tortured, brutally killed. Okay, so through this point, the poet has tried to explore his African race and how African race was originated, how it was mistreated by the white counterpart. Then the speaker of the poem dives into the place to trace the beginning of his race he can remember, and that was a beginning like the harsh cry of sea eagle, as his people first tried to articulate a sense of self when they arrived in the Caribbean. Still, the world left them with nothing. So here the writer has tried to delineate that actually Caribbean people were the first human being, and they were the first humans, but now they have lost their old root and culture due to this slavery system, and now all people hate them because of their color and because of their country of origin and because of their all kinds of tradition. Okay, and the whole world has actually left this African race with nothing. Okay. Then, in addition to that, in the second section of the poem is shifted to explicates language and the ways European colonizers shaped the map of the Caribbean. They even mock the bays and forests by naming it they encountered after the places they remember in Europe and call a Pixte or Pixte Versailles, and it was the name of King Louis X1, maybe 14th opulent palace. It is called Versailles. So they have mocked them and said them that they live in a Pixte. That kind of thing was said by the colonizers or the white people. Then the Europeans grew more resentful. They began to hate the memory of the countries they had lost, yet the name stuck. Actually, Europeans believe in the right of everything to be noun or felt that converting elements of the world into distinct items with names was a way of validating them. Okay. On the other hand, the enslaved African people brought to the Caribbean accepted these, but changed the name as they repeated them back, used their own voices to transform this colonial register. Further, they penned the names the way the wind bends the world. Thus, they came to see the world differently. The palms which the colonizer mockingly named Versailles are in fact greater than the palace ever was, because they were made by nature, not by human being. The fallen trees compared to fallen columns in the names of the Europeans, and greater than Castile, because they too were exterminated, or means destroyed by nature, not by humans. Therefore, in this configuration of the world, the worm is greater and better than any human ruler. So here the poet is utterly saddened, and he is heartbroken that humans actually treat human in a very brutal way, in a very inhuman way, and that is very despicable and that is condemnable. So that kind of thing the poet said. And the poet also says that actually this colonial power or this greatest emperor, they cannot be compared to a worm, because worm is greater than them. Worm is greater emperor than any human ruler, according to the poet. And through this poet, through the title of the poem names, the poet has also tried to depict that the African race or the Caribbean people or tribe, when they were migrated, their names, that all things were disappeared, that all were obliterated, or these all things were utterly forgotten by them, and they had also done many things to remove their names. Okay. So I will try to read these lines. My race began as the sea began, with no nouns and with no horizon, with pebbles under my tongue, with a different fix on the star. So here the poet has tried to say that his race, his African race or Caribbean race, that began when the sea began, when there is no name. When there is no name, that this is called African tribe or this is called Caribbean race. So that kind of thing was not there. At that time, his race was originated, or his race began when the sea began. So that's the thing the poet has tried to emphasize. Then the poet says, but now my race is here, in the sad oil of Levantine eyes, in the flecks of Indian fields. So here the poet says that, but right now, that tribe, that race, that African race, which has so much glory, so much importance, right now, they are under the colonial power, they are now under the flags of Indian fields, and they are now trapped with their cruel power or their cruel rule. I began with no memory, I began with no future, but I looked for that moment when the mind was held by a horizon. So here the poet says that he had begun with no money and no future, and he looked for that moment when the wind was held by a horizon. And at that time too, this race was there. I have never found that moment when the mind was held by a horizon, for the goldsmith from Benares, the stonecutter from Canton, as a fish like sinks, the horizon sinks in the memory. So here the poet says that their race is very old, and no one can actually trace their race, but still, due to colonial power, due to all this slavery system, they have been treated in a very malicious way. So that kind of thing the poet says, and he has tried to compare a place that they have also lived in Benares, where the goldsmith born and the stonecutter from Canton. All this. Have we melted into a mirror, leaving our souls behind? The goldsmith from Benares, the stonecutter from Canton, the bronzesmith from Benin. A sea eagle screams from the rock, and my race began like the osprey with that cry, that terrible vowel, that I behind us, all the sky folded, as history falls over a fishline and the foam foreclosed with nothing in our hands. But this day, to trace out names on the sand, which the sea erased again to our indifference. And when they named this base, was it nostalgia or irony? In the uncombed forest, in uncultivated grass, where was their elegance except in their mockery? Where were the courts of Castile? Versailles colonial supplanted by cabbage palms with Canton crest, belittling diminutive, then little Versailles means plans for a Pixte, names for the sour apples and green grapes of their exile. Their memory turned acid, but the names hell. Valencia glows with the lanterns of oranges. Mayoras term Sandelbra of coca. Being man, they could not leave, except they first presumed the right of everything to be a noun. The African equist repeated and changed them. Listen, my children, say, Mobin, the Hopan, seriously, the wild cherry, Bailey the bay, with the fresh green voices, they were once themselves in the way the wind bends our natural inflections. These palms are greater than Versailles, for no man made them. Their fallen columns greater than Castile, no man unmade them, except the worm who has no helmet, but was always the emperor. And children look at these stars over Benares forest, not Orient, not Betelgeuse. Tell me, what do they look like? Answer, you damn little Arabs, sir, fireflies caught in Malaysia. So that's it. Means, I have not thoroughly read and researched and tried to study about this one, but through this video, I have just given you a very, very little insight about the poetry, about the theme, about the subject, about this poetry. And I, as in all my video, I say the same thing. I would like to repeat here that don't treat this video as your one-stop destination for exam. You have to go through, you have to explore other resources, you have to go through the poetry by your own way, own mind, then only things will be clear for you. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching the video. Bye-bye.